Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. I'm back. This is the finale of What If Deku had a metal manipulation quirk. Sorry for kind of, slacking on the uploads recently. Kind of been either sick, doing other stuff, running a lot of errands and so on and so forth. And yeah, I've been trying to just recover from being sick, and I realized I just wasn't getting enough sleep and stuff like that. But yeah, we're here. This is the finale. So I've got a lot to go over, a lot to cover. So let's just get right into the what if. Let's get it. The fight between Izuku Midoriya and Muscular begins. Izuku would begin fending him off, just trying to allow Koda to leave. But Koda would be in complete and utter shock, not being able to really move. I mean, he is just a young kid, a young boy. So of course he's terrified. I mean, this is a freak of nature that is standing in front of him. Who wouldn't be terrified of someone that is this big and this scary? So he kind of sits there and he's basically just petrified over the idea that this monster of a man is coming to kill them. Izuku is able to relatively easily hold off Muscular, but Muscular begins to bluff about how strong he truly is. So this does put Izuku in a weird spot, eventually leading to him letting go of Muscular just slightly enough to where, well, it puts Koda in harm's way. Koda refuses to leave by the request of Izuku. He tells him over and over again just to run away, and Koda would eventually get caught with a stray boulder. This boulder would be thrown toward Izuku, but when Izuku tries to stop it, shatter it into pieces, it actually puts multiple shards of these sharp rocks within Koda. Koda begins to bleed, and Izuku tries to more or less take the shards out of him and try to more or less mitigate the damage as much as possible, but nothing's really working and nothing's really helping. He sees that Koda is bleeding extremely bad, and he's trying to help the kid. Immediately though, he would feel Koda's pulse slowly but surely weaken, and his eyes would droop to the ground. Izuku not only knows that these villains are after Bakugo, but he now knows that Koda is going to die. He grabs Koda and puts him on his shoulders, and all he can feel is the slow pulse of Koda onto his back. He looks toward Muscular, and Muscular is about to attack them once again, but the metal within the ground, the metal within the entirety of the mountain begins to more or less make spikes, immediately grabbing Muscular, penetrating his arms and legs, grounding him entirely. The eye socket that Muscular has, the metal within his eye, he would then begin to feel it go back toward his head. Izuku begins to slam the metal within the brain of Muscular, and eventually the body of Muscular would lay limp out entirely. Muscular is dead. Izuku can feel the blood of Koda on his back. Now this is something that he never realized would even happen or even could occur. He thought he could save everybody. He was wrong. He would throw a piece of metal on the ground as he surfs on a surfboard like a material or surfboard like item, and he heads back to where Aizawa currently is. When he arrives, he tells Aizawa that this is some serious matters. He needs to help Koda. He needs to save him. But as he hands Koda over, the blood loss was too great, and Koda is dead. Izuku is in complete shock, unable to fathom the idea that he just allowed someone to die right next to him, allowed someone to be killed. But as quick as more or less him saving or trying to save Koda and defeating Muscular or killing Muscular, everything in the forest goes quiet. Everything entirely goes quiet. Izuku realizes what's happening. They already finished the mission. They have Bakugo. A rush of just anger would flow over Izuku. He not only failed Koda, but he failed Bakugo. They might have not been the bestest of friends. They might have not been, well, the best people to each other, and Bakugo may have not been the best person to Izuku, but still, he's still his friend. The next step for the heroes is to save Katsuki Bakugo. The next step is to save him. Everybody is more or less brought to the hospital, Izuku included, and Aizawa would explain to Izuku what he did. That's just something they're going to need to speak about, something that they're going to need to figure out whatever comes next. Izuku hears him, but he's not truly listening. All he can think about is the way to locate Bakugo, and he hears from somebody that Momo Yaoyorozu has a way of tracking where they are. Izuku immediately during the night would go over to her room and would ask for a copy of that tracker. He wants the location. She says that's a horrible idea, that he's already in trouble for doing whatever he did, and Izuku says that he doesn't care. He wants the tracker. He needs the tracker. Momo would eventually be convinced to give Izuku that said tracker, but really only because, well, he agrees that he'll bring a bunch of the other students as well. But once he gets the tracker, well, let's just say he goes back on that promise relatively quickly. He would bolt off faster than anybody else could really even keep up, and even Momo admits that there was a high likelihood of him doing this. She didn't 100% believe him when he said that he would stick around and team up. There's something different about Izuku right now. Something far different. It's as if he knows now that every life is sacred, that every single life is important, but he knows that for the greater good, he needs to do certain things that a hero cannot and will not do. Izuku may not even be looking at himself as a hero right now. He's no hero in training. He's no hero. All he can think about is getting Bakugo back and stopping whatever is to come. When he arrives at the location of the tracker, he would see exactly what's going on and where it's come from. It's an army of Nomus. We're talking hundreds, maybe, experimented on, controlled, so on and so forth. Izuku would then feel something, an idea. This idea. He would grab the side of the building, and a bunch of the extra pieces of metal all around the building would then begin to creep into this giant warehouse, embedding itself within each and every single Nomu. Izuku was now just waiting for the right time. And that right time would come, because Bakugo would be saved, or at least that's what they believe. Bakugo would be more or less saved by the heroes, but All For One would send him through a portal, leading us to the final standing ground of All Might versus All For One. Izuku would see the fight about to begin. Bakugo slowly but surely losing ground against the League of Villains. But just as he begins to lose that ground, well, all they could hear is the rumblings. Footsteps running. No, these are heavy creatures, heavy people. All they hear is loud stomps. Bakugo looks over to see an army of Nomus. He's in shock, but he looks toward, well, Shigaraki and them, and he sees that they are just as shocked as everyone else. That may be a good sign. Izuku commands all the Nomus, moving all of them using his metal manipulation and, well, his metal bending and controlling every single one of them at the same time. The League of Villains would all be subdued in a matter of seconds using all the Nomus. All For One would look in complete shock, trying to command the Nomus to stop. All Might would land a punch that would more or less take All For One off his feet. But in a matter of seconds, a Nomu would grab All For One by the leg, and another Nomu would grab him by the leg, slamming him to the ground, and they began to throw him into the air. He would stop midair, and all the metal on his body would then begin to change, wrap around him like cords, and beginning to hang him. He would then be squeezed so hard that he could feel his ribs breaking into pieces, and eventually his life would be taken. All Might is shocked. What did he just watch? What was that? Who was that? He turns to see one person, and it's Izuku. His eyes say a million, maybe even a trillion words. Izuku is not the person he was before. Death made him, well, different. and he knew that the only way to stop a villain group like this, like them, was death. All Might may have disagreed with that idea in the past. Maybe even Izuku in the past would have disagreed with that idea. But right now, he's not thinking 100% straight. He kills All For One, he would kill the League of Villains, and an army of Nomus would run rampant, destroying and killing and obliterating every single villain that was there. All Might, Aizawa, and many others would see this, and Izuku would be deemed as a high threat, as someone that is not, well, or should not be free. Many argue, saying that he's a kid. He has nothing to do anything. It doesn't matter. And even some of the heroes, including Aizawa, on the down low would more or less harbor Izuku, trying to get him away and him more or less escape whatever is going on at this moment. Izuku would be in housing that nobody really knows about, but eventually it would all come down to this. Izuku would have one thing that he felt was redemption for himself, one thing that he felt, well, needed to happen. Izuku would appear at a police office, an area that, well, he didn't want to be at, and he would say that he was turning himself in. Everybody would be shocked. I mean, multiple heroes, a lot of them, believe that Izuku was fine, that he was a good kid, that he did what he believed to be best. Yes, he did take a life of somebody, but we're talking about someone like All For One, a terrible person, a horrible person. But at the end of the day, a death is a death, and, well, a violent killer is still a violent killer. And yes, in the grand scheme of things, this may help the world in greater ways than anybody could possibly imagine. But at least, he was able to help for the foreseeable future, even if he's deciding to put himself behind bars. A special prison would need to be made for Izuku, completely made out of plastic and materials that have no metal content at all. Izuku would be more or less chained up by all of these things that literally don't even allow him to move at all. Yes, many people believe Izuku should be free. He's just a kid. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, right? But Izuku knows that he should be in prison. And if they were to ever need his help, if they were to ever need Izuku Midoriya once again, they knew where to find him. At least, that's the benefit of this. But it does worry him. He does fear whatever's to come. But luckily, All Might has his successor, and his successor is extremely powerful. So, whatever's to come, let's just hope they're able to handle it on their own. Because we can all agree that Izuku has made this world entirely better with the death of not only All For One, but the League of Villains. There's a lot more to fear in the world. There's a lot more to deal with. But at least this is a stepping stone to making the world completely and utterly peaceful, even if All Might isn't the one protecting it. With that said, if you enjoyed the series of What If Deku had a metal manipulation quirk, well, then leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. Sorry it took so long to finish the series. Sorry it took so long for me to post some of these episodes. I hope y'all still enjoyed, and I appreciate all the support, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.